track days don't always go according to plan, as these convenient but very painful clips will now demonstrate. And as you can tell, the Civic is disgusting inside and out. I swear, the interior of this car is basically a rolling biohazard. Driving this thing home was not very much fun. And so in today's episode of Project Honda Civic Si, we're going to give this thing the deep clean it very obviously deserves. And along the way, we're going to throw in some modifications and upgrades to spice things up on the interior. So let's roll the intro and jump right into it. First things first, for the sake of my own sanity, I have to wash this car. The combination of being blasted with Buttonwillow dust and then getting rained on is not a good look.
With the exterior looking less awful, it's time to tackle the main job here today, and that is revitalizing this disgusting interior. If you've ever been to Buttonwillow, you know Buttonwillow dust is very fine and it goes everywhere and ruins everything it touches. And so, first things first, let's wipe some stuff down and get disinfecting.
Now I know all the detailers in the audience were ripping out their hypoallergenic hair at the thought of me using Clorox wipes on the interior of the Civic, but don't worry, it's kind of necessary even to get all the dirt out of this thing. I'm going to follow it up with some 303 protectant to kind of bring some moisture and protection back into the plastic fantastic interior. So all the plastic and let's call them leather-inspired pieces in the SI are looking pretty good. That leaves us with all the cloth stuff, the seats, floor mats, things like that. And fortunately, I have a better idea than spending hours scrubbing everything, and that's thanks to today's sponsor of this video, 3D Mats. 3D Mats is a supplier of high-quality floor liners. That's things like carpeted floor mats, cargo liners, and more durable all-weather liners. They're all custom fit, tailored to your vehicle and shipped right to your door. And that also includes fitment for my SI. So let's get these things installed and take a look. So I've gone ahead and vacuumed the interior and gotten these 3D mats installed in the car, and I have to say, I'm pretty impressed. A big thing with aftermarket parts, no matter what they're for, whether it's for your engine, your suspension, or indeed your interior, the big thing for me is fitment, because a lot of times with aftermarket parts, they tend to not fit super duper well. But in this case, these have an OEM Plus-like quality to them that I'm a huge fan of. The fitment on the mats themselves is pretty solid. That also includes the rear floor mat, which is one giant piece that has to account for multiple contours in a pretty complicated shape, so I'm pretty impressed by that. But it's also the smaller details that I really appreciate, like this driver's side mat, for example, has these small detents right here to account for the OEM hooks for the OEM floor mat, so it doesn't bump the floor mat up unnaturally. That's clever, as is this integrated heel pad right here, because 3D Mats knows that when you're driving a manual transmission, a lot of times you're resting your heel on the ground, going from brake to gas to clutch. You're going to wear this pad out, so they actually reinforce this specific area, which is very clever, because if you look at my OEM floor mats and probably your OEM floor mats, that's where they're the most worn out. They're dug out, they're basically full of holes. And this is the perfect time to mention that if you are interested in checking out a pair of 3D mats for your own vehicle, whether it's a Civic Si or any other type of car, you can do so with the link in the description down below, along with the supplied 10% discount code they've given me for the channel. If you enter the code, you get 10% off your order, and if you click through that affiliate link, I actually get a few bucks from every sale they make, which is great. So you can buy a cool pair of floor mats and support the channel. Oh, Hi there, it's your boy, just checking in. Are you enjoying the video so far? Well, of course you are. That's because this is some grade A primo content we're talking about. So go ahead and show your support by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. It's free and it helps the channel. Alright, back to the video. The SI's interior is looking and feeling factory fresh, and I'm a huge fan. But I'm not quite done with this episode just yet. Regular viewers will have likely noticed that over the course of the videos I've put up on this car, I like to change the shift knob quite a lot, because it's something that's small and inexpensive but does quite notably change the personality of the car, especially the shift feel, which is a very subjective thing. And that brings me to the last interior upgrade we're doing to this vehicle, and that is actually a shifter refresh from Acuity Instruments. Acuity's shifter refresh includes this Delrin shift knob, the shifter base bushings, along with the bushings for the shifter cables where it mates up to the transmission. And after 120,000 miles, I'm sure the original parts definitely need some refreshing there. Also, the OEM 8th Gen Civic Si knob, which is the one I'm currently on, is pretty haggard. Check this thing out. Yeah, that's pretty rough. So I'm going to cut away to some shots of me installing the Acuity Instruments shifter bushings and getting this knob on, and then take it from there. I figured I would do what I assumed was the harder job first. The shifter cable bushings are right in the engine bay on top of the transmission. If you have a cold air intake, you can reach them directly. If you have the stock airbox, you'll have to remove that out of the way. Basically, all you need is a flathead screwdriver, maybe a pry tool. And basically, you pry the stock bushings out of the shifter cables and replace them with these aftermarket Acuity ones. What I like is that Acuity actually uses a bearing rather than a solid bushing, which should allow the shifter cables to not bind up or stretch over time or during hard shifts. Having done shifter bushings on other front-wheel drive cars before, I figured doing these shifter base mount bushings would be a piece of cake, but surprisingly on the SI they can be a bit tricky just because access is a bit tough. The SI shifter uses 3 bushings to locate it to the chassis, and as you might expect, the OEM ones are soft rubber and you're replacing them with basically solid metal, because in this case you don't want any movement at all. The only real annoying part about this DIY is the fact that it's pretty easy to actually drop components deep into the center console, so definitely have a pry tool or a long screwdriver handy in case you drop anything like I did. And as for the shift knob, well, I think even you can figure that out, hopefully. So the SI's interior looks and feels great thanks to those fresh 3D mats. And with the Acuity Instruments shifter refresh, it shifts better than ever. And all of this has me really excited to do more projects with this car because I have a lot of really exciting things lined up in the near future. And with that said, once again, we want to thank 3D Mats for sponsoring this episode of Project Civic Si. It's awesome to have a great product and a great brand supporting this build. And I think that's all I got for this one, guys. So my name is Jake. You've been watching Drive, Brake, Fix, Repeat, and I'll see you guys next time where I go do more fun things with cars. Bye.